Fishing like a local isn't just about catching fish. It's about connecting with the environment and the people who call it home. It's about hearing the stories and traditions that have been passed down for generations and sharing unforgettable moments with the people you meet along the way. Fishing like a local is having an experience that stays with you forever. And with Fishing Booker, you can experience it too, no matter where you are. Discover your next adventure on Fishing Booker.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the Western Hunting Hub podcast. This is a quick episode just to discuss Colorado's over-the-counter changes that are happening in 2025. It's old news at this point, but it's big news and lots of things to come of it. And I've had these notes for a while, been stewing on it, trying to figure out what my thoughts are with some of that. But in general, I'm in support. And I know majority of my listeners come from the Denver area in Colorado. So you must be residents, and I support what you guys got going on there. But let me explain. There's a lot more to it. So if you haven't heard, Colorado has been working on their 5-year big game structure that happens every 5 years or so, where whenever they start working on it, the spring, year and a half before. So they're working on that structure. They're basing that off of survey results. But the funny thing is, on this go around, the survey results do not recommend their changes. So one total different discussion, but once again, the commission making decisions based on a social thing instead of based on data. So that's a concern. Also, that they're just going rogue and not listening to the hunters. So another elitist thing that just continuing on, not considering what hunters say. The majority of survey responders would actually prefer to keep the seasons as they are. That includes residents and non-residents. But the staff of Colorado Parks and Wildlife recommended assessing the hunter preference between the current and prior big game structure seasons. So there's no clear consensus regarding limiting over-the-counter licenses between residents and non-residents. That is very interesting to me. Other things that I saw on the notes that I haven't heard anything more of, and maybe I got to go back and listen to the whole stinking commission meeting, but there was a note here in the what to talk about was to shift the weighted point draw system to bonus point draw system for any of the weighted stuff. So that's moose, goat, and sheep. They're considering a modification of the new bonus point system to improve likelihood of high point holders to draw sheep, goat, or moose. So I have seen our state here look at that too and say, you've got people that have 20 plus points. How do you accommodate for those people? In Colorado, you have the same thing. You've got point holders with 30 plus points. And how do you take care of those people a little bit more to allow them to draw their tag? But man, I love it that it is just everyone's got a shot. And that weighted point system, I don't know. Anyone got any input on that? Let me know. So according to the notes, it makes note that this is just the start, that removing the over-the-counter archery elk season for non-residents. I know it's got a lot of layers to it, but according to the notes, this is just a start to make note of what happens, how that happens, and so on. So they're just seeing if that's making an impact. But over-the-counter archery, over-the-counter rifle, other seasons or that are over-the-counter, those are all probably going to be assessed. And that's just kind of the trend of what's happening across the West. There is some interesting data on the Colorado Parks and Wildlife Commission notes that rifle and archery OTC hunters have reduced since 2019 by both resident and non-resident. You can find that in the June meeting notes, the big game structure memo. So if you want to go see what that is, but there's actually a reduction of hunters since 2019, according to what they have there on their commission notes. That the crowding we may start see is exactly what I've been talking about for the last couple of years, is when you remove over-the-counter units, you just condensed everyone down to closer and closer and closer, the same unit. So it's just a reduced area. So crowding is what people have been seeing. Another little note and data point that I found is Colorado is nearly 3 times the average number of non-resident tag holders in any other Western state. So again, they're looking at how they can uh, be more in line with Wyoming and Montana and reduce some of those Western state tags. They also accommodate non-residents way more than any other, even with the new allocation of down to 75-25 or 60-40. Oh my gosh, 70-30. Those new allocations still are way more generous than any other Western state for the most part. So it's a lot there that non-residents, and I say we, I'm a non-resident, are getting. So for the current season, all that is nothing's going to be changed, but this is also for the 2025 draw. So my thoughts on this. The complaining about overcrowding from non-residents was pretty rampant. And hey, guess what? Colorado Parks and Wildlife listened. So because there was overcrowding, I heard everybody but myself come back and talk about how they're overcrowded. There's too many people here, too many people there. I didn't have that issue last year. It was pretty awesome. But everyone comes back and says that same sort of complaint. But then I've seen some complaining online about this, or other YouTube or podcasts are complaining about non-resident license. Well, no, I can't go do this. Well, it was an overcrowding issue. So I'm a non-resident, but I'm in support. It makes sense. It's more fair for residents, and in the long run, it's going to be a lot more enjoyable for non-residents. If it means it's going to be less crowded, then hey, that'll be a good deal. Uh, I'm in favor, but let's take a look at a few things. Many states are reducing those non-resident opportunities, but there is a financial impact on some of that, and it's not concerning if it is small changes. So I don't have the exact numbers. Actually, I do have some exact numbers right here for Colorado. We had, let's see, for on average since 2018 to 2022, license sold, we are talking a total of 421,000 licenses, which leaves a average of $71 million is what Colorado Parks and Wildlife is bringing in. So 421,000 licenses, and they're making 71 million. That's what the revenue is. Okay, a lot of money because those tags are expensive. The non-resident side of that is 114,000. The resident licenses is 306,000. So as you would suspect, there are way more resident hunters license sold than non-resident. Way more, almost 3 times as much. So you've got a mostly residents over non-residents. If you were to cap that, even at just 100,000 tags, that's probably a pretty big financial impact. But if it's just a small little cap to keep it as is, that might be something interesting to see. And then, actually, as I look at this data, there isn't a reduction in number of hunters since 2019. So they got some screwy charts on their commission notes. It doesn't make any sense. I looked at that over and over again. So go take a look. Tell me where I'm wrong reading that. But according to their chart in the commission notes of the June meeting, that's what it says.
Fishing like a local isn't just about catching fish. It's about connecting with the environment and the people who call it home. It's about hearing the stories and traditions that have been passed down for generations and sharing unforgettable moments with the people you meet along the way. Fishing like a local is having an experience that stays with you forever. And with Fishing Booker, you can experience it too, no matter where you are. Discover your next adventure on Fishing Booker.
So, anyway, back to this impact. So in Colorado, no, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna go back to South Dakota. So South Dakota, just as an example, small peanuts compared to these big resident numbers, non-resident numbers in Colorado. Their license and everything costs way more. South Dakota's 100 non-residents are coming from mostly pheasant hunters and then antelope and mule deer hunters because we have all kinds of opportunity that's basically not capped. It is getting tighter and tighter, but there is a revenue of 12.1 million for residents and 19.5 million for non-residents. Majority of the cash coming in South Dakota is coming from non-residents. Okay, make a note of that. In Colorado, you have a total revenue of $59 million coming in from resident and non-resident licenses. 59 million. It's the total. Guess how much of that is resident? Only 12.5 million on average over the last 5 years. Non-residents are bringing in 59 million. So again, I think I said that right. We had 71 million total dollars of revenue from both resident and non-resident. 12 of that came from residents. 59 million came from non-residents. So there is no, you can't do anything without the non-residents. Resident license sales are very important. Very, very important. And you can tell 114,000 people paid for those very expensive tags. Those deer tags at 400 some bucks, the bear tags now at 360, the elk tags at 8,000 or 800. Lots of money coming in and we're willing to pay it. So we're important. I think that's important to note that non-residents are important no matter what state you are in. Wyoming, Montana, and any other state, they're no different. They have the same, it's going to be very similar. I tried to get some of that data, but just conjecture says that it is no different. Non-residents are very important. But again, I'll say I'm in support of this, but hopefully they've got their financials in place. The big thing I want to discuss, though, is the potential effects. What all of this means is you reduce archery over-the-counter hunters, then what is that going to do? Okay, hopefully reduce crowding, and it should. There's going to be less people in the landscape, maybe. They don't know. Hopefully, they know where people currently were hunting, what units. Although they don't, I know they don't because those surveys results or those surveys never asked me what unit did I hunt in. So we're not going to know how to reduce that crowding necessarily. They're going to have to do some calculations to see how many tags they should be putting in each one of those areas, and do some serious digging. And then the big one though, that's really got me pondering. There's got a lot of stuff going on in this state. I want to just follow along and see how it happens. And this is going to be my last year hunting Colorado for hunting elk in Colorado the same way that I am. Obviously, I'm being forced to do that, but I'm not going to just continue to plan to do over-the-counter style like hunts. I have preference points in the game. So this is going to change completely how non-residents are going to hunt and how they're going to do it. So if non-residents want to hunt, they need to apply and potentially need to use their points to do so, depending on how many tags will be available and how hard those tags are to get. So I have about 9 elk points. There's no way I'm going to apply for anything next year except minus deer. I'm not going to apply for anything. I don't want to accidentally blow a bunch of points. I sure could do that and turn my tags in. But I'm nervous about where these how that's going to change things, because a elk point is an elk point in Colorado. It doesn't matter if that's archery or rifle. So I could accidentally burn some points on a unit that it doesn't need to do that. So it's going to be a big stir up in the point stats. If you have non-residents that have been going every single year to Colorado and doing over-the-counter archery, they may have also been building up preference points. And if they want to continue what they've been doing for 15, 20 years, they now have to use those points. That's a lot. That's a big thing. That is potential to help with some point creep in my projections, but I don't know how much. It's really gonna be a big stir up, and I'm interested to print out some stats for this year and check them out, what the stats are like next year, and just do a big nerdy deep dive into some numbers. So those people are going to be applying, and it's going to be a little risky whether you're blowing and wasting points or not. The other potential effects are reduced funding, pending those numbers. And then there's a lot of people I think that are going to decide to hunt another state. So I had someone disagree with me on that, but I said, no, that's me. I'm doing that exact thing. So if I am going to uh, not hunt Colorado next year because I don't want to burn my points, I'm then going to go put some more serious focus into hunting Montana or Wyoming. Probably not Wyoming yet. I got 3 points for that, 4 points for that. I want just a few more. So I need to keep building that one up. Montana is going to be next. Then I'm going to do a serious deep dive into Colorado for 2026 and see, okay, where would my points get me? What kind of hunt do I want to do? And then Wyoming the following year. So I'm going to make that decision to hunt those other states and have my true 3-state rotation like I've been working on. Who knows? Add New Mexico. I don't know. So all others are a total unknown, but it's a big shakeup. And if you haven't heard about that and you're planning on going to Colorado for over-the-counter archery, this is your last chance. And this could be a flooded field this year, just of hunters. So it all comes down to what the cap is, what the unit boundaries are. That's going to be a big change. Are they extra big units? Are they the same big game units as you see everything else? Who knows? The other conclusion I have is that non-residents are important, and we're all non-residents in 49 other states. How many of you are hunting some of those other states? So think about that. We've got our money that we gladly bring to other states, and we should, I know this is a big statement, but we should embrace some of those non-residents coming into our state because they're spending license dollars, allowing our state agencies to do what they need to do. Whether you agree with what they do or not, there's still a lot of good that Parks and Wildlife are doing in any other state agency with monitoring our wildlife and making sure our wildlife are there for us to enjoy. So, main thing is to keep that in mind. Changes are made for biological and social reasons. We want to enjoy these hunts and really do what's best for wildlife. But if it's in the best interest that sometimes we sacrifice some of the hunts, uh, that's fine. So good job, Colorado. That's the first time I've said that in a while, but I think there's some interesting things going on there. Pay attention to the commission notes. You can look at every commission meeting is recorded and notes are there. You can go dig into that stuff yourself. So thanks for listening, and good luck, future Colorado hunters.
To the land, but it ain't my ground. This is God's country.